Ade Dakelh nge Francis Princely Suzy Nakasli te hasya it's masiusto ke tabe tahundi nge njane keo astan nge asten. Thank you for having me here today. And my name is Francois Prince. I'm from Nakasli territory, which is Fort St. James, and I belong to the Beaver clan. And thank you for having me here today to work, be on territory.
Hari Danezet Seke Skies Hunasti was a deaf. Jennifer Piggins Se Susie, Clately Ko Sahasya, Gidamden Wetsoten Asli. Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Jennifer Piggin. I am a member of the Clately Tene. I am a Bearwolf clan from Witset, the Wet'suwet'en, and I'm glad you're all here.
Hadi, Danto, Sicha Suasta my name is Leon Erickson. I'm the son of Art and Bertha Erickson. I'm from Nakasli. I'm Loshabu, which is Bear Wolf Clan. And I'm honored to be assisting in this project with you.
So we're here to share our proposed Dakelh curriculum process. We are creating this as Dakelh people for all people in our territories. And so with that, we want to acknowledge that we are all on the ancestral unceded territory of Dakelh people. And we're hoping to work together through this process. And so with the next short presentation, you will learn more about what we would like to do and hopefully how you can contribute and how we can work together.
Ibete Toninzan de Katsinto Negani be Dakartana. We will know what to do if we learn the language the old way. That's what this is all about. Will be good if we go back to the old ways.
So we're basically trying to establish, reestablish the pride and the culture and knowledge that the Dakelh people have always had, and we're trying to bring it back in a manner that is respectful and appropriate for future generations.
Ito ne Esanats utis Ngezarko Sasatzen as Tussas Title. All nations need to gather and work together to be strong.
So in the process of our development of the Dakelh language curriculum, we want to design this for and with our Indigenous nations. So all of the bands in our territories are invited to participate and contribute. We can't do this without you is a big idea with the school districts that we have serving our nations. We have School District 28, School District 57, and School District 91. As you can see, this is a huge undertaking, and it's a timely piece that we want to get done together and as best we can, and make sure that we all have the input and opportunity to contribute.
Okay, what we see here is a table of contents. Why we are developing the language. We've basically started the stronghold and the foothold of building the knowledge of the language and culture of Dakelh people, but much more information is needed. We want to make sure that the future generations understand properly what they're learning and understand the respect that lies inherently in the knowledge and the language that our people have kept for generations.
Ada pagani ozilsa iga de tabe as saltile as tile dakarne. By listening to the old ones, we'll become very strong people.
So we're making this curriculum of Dakelh understanding because it's our right as Dakelh people, it's our right as Indigenous people. This has been identified through the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, through Bill C-91, Indigenous Languages Act, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action on language and culture, as well as the BC Ministry of Education that requires schools to offer a second language to students in grade 5 to 8. There's a requirement for students to take the second language, but there's no Indigenous or Dakelh language options currently available. This curriculum can be offered as a second language and provide graduating requirements, and it can be offered in person, through online distance or distributed learning, or homeschooling throughout the province.
Negan li en ne dastlasa hinla ne bayastakne. Inges tiana na yastakne su sanatu datar. The United Nations Declaration of our language and the Truth and Reconciliation.
Dakelh language, carrier language, represents many different dialects, from the Wet'suwet'en all the way down to our central carrier people and everyone in between. And we try not to rule out anyone, but it is important that each individual community and dialect come together to create this very meaningful and valuable language-based curriculum that we're trying to establish. We want to respect everyone equally. There is no one who is higher or better than any other, and we want to show that. We want to show the people we respect each other as much as we respect the land.
Nikayastak ne nahudolno ahwas asatsaten ne keyote aspo watsudele. Our language is almost forgotten. We should work together and learn together as a community.
So in order to do this, we need to follow the provincial guidelines. They have curricular frameworks, and basically this is just a way of organizing information where teachers will understand what they need to teach and how they can teach it. So all of the BC curriculum is required to have big ideas. So those are the greater concepts of understanding, curricular competencies, that's how you do things, the topics and knowledge at each grade level, core competencies, which are thinking, communicating, personal and social, as well as content, knowing the skills and the process. Within this curriculum, each of our nations will get a chance to provide their own Indigenous language, their own dialect, and their own cultural knowledge fit within the framework. The frameworks are generic. So with any language, the curricular framework is there, but they don't have the actual language words in the curriculum. They just tell you the big ideas that you want to understand. They'll tell you topics that you should be covering, specific types of things that should be understood at different grade levels. And so that means each nation will continue to have the authority and moral rights to their content to preserve authenticity, and each of your nations will have the chance to contribute to the local language development, history, culture, and heritage guided by your respective nations. The document in the end is a living document, so it can be edited and changed and altered in the future.
Ito keo ne cha ada ne esten an ukanahol. Each dialect can work on their own language.
So what do we do now? We have a basic understanding of simple language, simple words, but we also need to enrich our knowledge with what can be taught with permission and what can be taught without permission. For example, stories, legends, songs, poems, these all need proper permission. There's protocol. Teachers must be taught protocol. They must be taught that we're established on respect, and they have to recognize the difference between teaching somebody how to say hello as opposed to trying to take someone's story or song from them without permission. So we need to show them that this is about respect and it's about responsibility.
Dakelh kaswe kakwat anin zan negani nekana netzin ha dalzo. We want our ways to be strong. Our hearts are deeply rooted in our words and our ways.
We are going to do this through sharing for purposes of learning, practicing our governance through the Bakhlat for those of us who use it, engage in traditional activities that we have throughout our seasonal rounds, connecting with our elders and knowledge keepers, our true teachers, creating and building relationships, practicing the language, and returning to the old ways.
Basats ibe da keo honilgi. Basats ways are the way we govern our land.
In speaking with our elders in consultation, we asked, how are we going to teach the language? What are the best ways to do that? So far, our feedback has shown that the best way to do it is through experiential land-based opportunities and focusing on the seasonal rounds. This here is a natural calendar of seasonal rounds provided by Nasteo, developed by Leona Prince, and it shows a framework of how and what to teach in each of the different seasons for this particular grade, and it is a helpful guide for us to continue to consider how we can teach the language authentically in a way that is natural and will be through a lot of times oral opportunities.
We learn every day by doing it also.
Our draft Dakelh Hodel A model is a teaching model that's being used within School District 57. The creation of this model was rooted in some educational gatherings with elders, again, looking at what is it to be Dakelh, what is most important, how do we teach, how do we learn, and it turned out that it was a consensus that Dakelh is values-based, and we learn through protocol, we learn through land and experiential learning, and we learn through language. All of those overlap in the center with the values where we would like our students to be, where we'd like to be ourselves, and continue teaching through that model. On the right, you can see a draft as well of a model similar to that that also incorporates the seasonal rounds. We are hoping to continue to develop these types of resources to guide our teachers to learn how to teach and what to teach our youth.
Et disana negani what's order tile. In case disana now this This is how we're going to learn our words. This is how we're going to work together through each cycle.
Okay, so what you're looking at is a basic understanding of the big ideas all the way down to the very specific differences and nuances in language. Difference between teaching them Indo as opposed to Anto, or using words like ndan or ndasta and dinda. It's about teaching them properly through a very specific and direct understanding of the language.
Dinto tak babasha satsatin. Edhoa ada dakastana hanatidash. Every day we'll work for the children, and that's how our old ways will come back.
So this is looking a little closer as an example of our draft, grade 1 draft curriculum, from early learning to grade 1. The big ideas there are an example of how we tied in protocol, language, land, and experiential learning, as well as on the curricular competencies side, thinking and communicating through language, personal and social awareness through protocol, and land and experiential learning.
Keo hotane asko hesanaho daste. Nahol nakin chahana. When everyone gathers together, our stories are alive.
Here we can tell that we break down a typical seasonal basis of learning through fall, winter, spring, and summer. And you may notice that because there's no school in summer, we may have to condense and share our knowledge throughout the year evenly, even though it's not taught in school throughout the year.
Asko hisnasen. Kete ndai habahunzu. Dakete dangante olaste. Let's look at it together. What's good for the winter? What's good for fall time, the summer or spring?
So within the curriculum, we have developed our draft from early learning to grade 4. We do not need to submit this to the ministry for approval, but we are hoping to move on to the grade 5 and on with you together and continue to build on this. This is an example of the elaborations where we are going to need the most help with, of course, defining what these words mean and the importance of these pieces in our culture. It's really important that these pieces be developed together and everyone has some time to look at it. We will have opportunities to do this and to work together with any of your educators and elders and knowledge holders.
Adatane. Ene bashatsa hinla. Enges bagani so zishtai. The anana is too dish. The old ones made our Bashat system, and if we listen to their words, we will do things the right way.
And moving forward, we are seeking your guidance and support. We're reaching out to you for help with collaborating with speakers, engaging with Dakelh communities, and just getting people to come forward and share the knowledge that they have before we lose it.
Mbe Bashatzatin, who are we working with?
So during our live presentation, we will provide more time for us to have discussion. But at this time, we want to make sure that we thank the people who've been working with us throughout the districts, across districts, the The project so far is working and guiding through School District 57, Indigenous Education Department, and an assembly of staff and volunteers through the region, with special thanks to the hard work and dedication of Jennifer Piggin, Leona Prince, and Patty Kimpton.
Sucho ne uziktai. Because Yesu only. Listen well and always do your best.
In closing, I'd like to thank you very much for your time, your knowledge, and your willingness to share so that future generations will not have to go through what our past generations have endured in the face of war, strife with settlers, disease, and just basically the genocide of our people, the cultural genocide.
Part of living in the truth and the reconciliation process, one of the most important things that I found is the translations. When we talk about the translations of our language and how they get interpreted, it's going to take a lot more English words to translate. So one of the things we want to really emphasize is the importance of how we're going to be able to translate the proper way. For instance, always making sure that our elders are involved with how we are able to conduct the language into the children.
I appreciate all of everyone's time coming out, and I do hope that everyone has the time to come and engage with us when we do our live presentation, as well as if you're unable to do that, you can always send any questions to your respective Indigenous lead in your region. So for School District 57, that would be myself. In School District 91 to Leona Prince, and to Patty Kimpton in School District 28. If you have any further questions, suggestions, feedback, or would like to just join our team of people working on various aspects, be it the curriculum itself or the content that will go into the curriculum, the resources that will be unique to each nation. Really appreciate everyone's time, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Provincial.